Kia ora, good morning, everybody. There's a few more people joining us, but I think we will get underway. And so welcome to our first event for 2024. We're really excited about this one. I'm Jacinta Fitzgerald. I'm the Chief Executive of Mindful Fashion New Zealand. We are a non-profit industry organisation working to build a full circle and thriving fashion and textiles industry ecosystem here in Aotearoa. Our work spans education, advocacy and collective action, all with a focus on advancing best practice and sustainable development of an industry so that business, people and nature can all thrive. We, as an organisation, we have more than 100 business members who share this commitment, and they come from across New Zealand and across the value chain of the industry, from designers, brands and retailers through to textile suppliers, manufacturers and service providers. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to today's session on Going Plastic Free with Kowtow. Just before we get underway, a little bit of housekeeping. So today we're going to use the chat function to help facilitate a Q&A session at the end of the presentation and discussion. So please feel free to add all your questions into the chat as we go so that we can get to them at the end. Any questions that we can't answer via the Q&A, we will endeavour to answer those after the event in the follow-up email. And we're also recording today's session, which will be available to watch on demand over the coming days for those that weren't able to join us live. As the need for the fashion industry to move towards a regenerative, low carbon and circular system becomes more urgent, it's really critical that we rethink the way that our products are designed, are produced and are circulated. Designing out waste and pollution and ensuring that products are able to be fed back into natural and technical cycles at the end of their life. This is a key driver of change for brands and for citizens alike. It not only reduces the draw on virgin, unrenewable resources, but it reduces emissions and it supports the regeneration of nature. This is why I am so thrilled about today's session, where we are spotlighting a New Zealand brand and a Mindful Fashion member who is leading the way in this area. We are absolutely thrilled to be hosting Kowtow, who has recently announced it has achieved its goal of being plastic free. Congratulations, Kowtow. Kowtow has long been committed to Fairtrade organic cotton. However, it also recognises the need to go beyond the industry norms with a vision to make clothing that can be returned to the earth without causing any harm. I would like to welcome Tessa Bradley, Kowtow's Head of Supply Chain Sustainability, who will share firsthand how they achieve this remarkable goal. Tessa will talk about the brand's journey to finding natural alternatives for all its garment components and give us an overview of Kowtow's plastic-free handbook. So be prepared to discover plastics that have been lurking in places you never knew existed. I've just realised I've had my screen share on the whole time, so hopefully you are able to see me, but now I would like to hand over to you, Tessa. Welcome, and yeah, please take the floor.
Thank you. I'll just go straight into sharing my presentation.
Great.
Can everyone see that? Not yet. Okay. Hello and welcome to everyone who has joined us today. Thank you to Mindful Fashion facilitating this event, and thank you all for being here and showing interest in this extremely important topic. My name is Tessa and I am the Head of Supply Chain Sustainability for Kowtow Clothing. I was previously the production manager for this project, so this has been a huge part of my role at Kowtow over the past 7 years. At Kowtow, we embarked on a 17-year journey fueled with a deep sense of purpose to eliminate all plastic from our clothing. Our commitment to Fairtrade organic cotton has always been unwavering, but we recognise the need to go beyond industry norms and find natural alternatives. Why? Because we believe in a future when fashion harmonizes with the planet and people, leaving no harmful footprint behind. From January 2024, new Kowtow Fairtrade organic cotton garments are plastic-free. The journey to plastic-free has been one of ambition, innovation, craft, and commitment. It's a result of years of research and development. Although it was clear from the start that achieving our vision would require a conscious act of opting out of the fashion norms and finding our own way, we sought an alternative mode for Kowtow, embracing a gentler, nature-protecting way forward. In 2019, we decided that as a brand, we didn't want to be contributing to the global plastic waste problem by the use of synthetic fabrics and components. We are conscious of the microplastic problem plaguing our oceans and even our bodies, hence why we got rid of our best-selling cotton elastane leggings as a starting point. So, where did this all begin? You may have listened to some of the recent videos of Gosha talking about how there was an image circulating around on the internet of a pair of jeans that had been composted, and what was left behind was the elastane. This image sparked something in Gosha that set us on our journey. A long and winding journey that has gone against industry conventions and led to finding natural alternatives so that now we can claim plastic-free, fair trade organic cotton clothing. The decision to go plastic-free meant we got rid of a range of products that we felt were compromising our ethics, even though they were sourced responsibly. Like our recycled nylon swimwear made from abandoned fishing nets, Did you know that 60% of the garments produced globally are made from synthetic fibers? From 2019 onwards, we decided to strip out all other fibers, including lensing tencel and ZQ merino, to focus on a single fiber, fair trade and organic cotton. From there, our team started thinking, if we were to throw this garment into the ground, what would be left behind after degradation? So we started by identifying all of the components that make up our garments. As you may know, there are no industry regulations for listing components on care labels, so they can be easily overlooked, but these components need to be replaced to achieve plastic-free. Today, I'm going to be introducing the Kowtow open source plastic-free handbook and talk about the changes we had to make and some of the challenges we had to overcome along the way in achieving this goal. Starting at the biggest the biggest component of the garment, the fabric. We use a natural monofiber fair trade organic cotton for every garment we make because it's traceable, biodegradable, and simpler to break down for recycling. From this single fiber, we create an entire product range including knitwear, denim, jersey, and wovens. This is the most important part in our eyes. Everything starts with a decision a designer makes for the garment fabric. This has the greatest volume and has the most impact on longevity through care and end of life. Kowtow organic cotton is certified global organic textile standard, grown without harmful chemicals, rain-fed, and our farmers adopt biodiverse and regenerative practices to preserve the land. Our entire supply chain from farmers, ginning and spinning through to manufacturing are certified to ensure the chain of custody. Kowtow has two main manufacturers based in Gujarat and West Bengal in India. We have worked with Pure Cots for 10 years and Raj Lakshmi since our inception in 2007, so 17 years. We have fostered long-standing relationships with both manufacturers. We frequent our suppliers twice a year. It's a collaboration rooted in trust and shared values where craftsmanship meets sustainability. Cotton wadding, an additional layer to the outer layer of fabric. After originally exploring recycled plastic options, we landed on using organic cotton wadding. Although this was made from recycled post-consumer bottles, we knew we had to switch out this PET wadding the deeper we started looking into circular solutions. This undyed natural cotton wadding adds warmth and volume, supporting our vision to create clothing that can return to the earth without harm. Cotton wadding is much heavier than your standard PET wadding, but we feel it adds a layer of comfort and warmth to our vests and jackets. Our manufacturers sourced a local option for us from Ginny Spectra. In the processing of this component, we follow the Oeko-Tex Standard 100. Cotton interlining. There are many invisible components that go into constructing our garments, like the interlining, a hidden cloth that serves as reinforcement in collars and cuffs, behind pockets and in button plackets and waistbands. Interlining gives a garment shape, strength, and durability. Traditionally used in fashion tailoring, interlining was a natural cloth made from either cotton or horsehair. In the 1950s, it moved to be a synthetic material with an adhesive that allowed it to stick to the garment. This option took over as the industry norm. Sourcing a natural alternative base cloth has been an extensive process. There are limited options. Where possible, we reduce or simply use our Fairtrade organic cotton as the interlining. But where extra stability is required, we use a certified GOTS organic cotton option. There's been logistical challenges, which mean we were originally sourcing our interlining from Wendler in Hong Kong. We have overcome this by sourcing from Wendler interlining based in India. Closer proximity to our manufacturer means reducing our carbon footprint. The amount of testing, problem solving, and continual research that has gone into replacing and eliminating these components has been a huge challenge for the design and production teams. Cotton labels. The norm in the industry is to use two synthetic garment labels, one size label in the neck and another with care instructions in the side seam. We combine all of this information onto one label, only made from Fairtrade certified organic cotton. The challenge we have is to strike the perfect balance between having all the information on the label without making it too large and the text too small. Screen printing onto cotton labels means that we can't make the text so small that the printing quality is compromised. Legally, it has to be legible. They also don't sit very flat after washing, so sometimes you see it sticking out of people's necklines. But hey, that's essentially free advertising for us. We source cotton labels from PSP in India. We follow the Oeko-Tex Standard 100. PSP is also take our pre-consumer factory clip and turn this into swing tags for us. We have also designed our swing tags to not require the use of a safety pin, but that also came with its challenges. It's fair to say a lot of these fell off in store. So we changed the design again to rely on an organic cotton string to attach the garment with a knot. Buttons. Choosing buttons over zips has always been part of our reductive design process. Previously, we used recycled hemp buttons, assuming they were natural. But as we learnt, the more we discovered they had synthetic binders holding their shape. Finding plastic-free alternatives became an intriguing design challenge for our team, showcasing our creativity within its limitations. Now we use Oeko-Tex Standard 100 approved Kowtow nut, Agoya, and mussel shell buttons, which are natural and completely plastic-free. The shell buttons are responsibly sourced by products of the finishing industry in Australia and Japan. The Kowtow nut buttons are an alternative to animal ivory and a die cut straight out of the Kowtow nut, which grows on tropical tagua trees. These buttons can be returned to the earth. We source these beautiful buttons from Italy through our Auckland-based supplier, Oceania Accessories. Metal tacks. Kowtow doesn't use zips, excuse me. Instead, we use nickel-free metal tack buttons and D-rings for our jeans, belts, and jackets. Always designing with reduction in mind, we use these trims sparingly. As part of our take-back program, all metal components can be removed, broken down, and recycled in a special partnership with our supplier. Excuse me. A key step in supporting our circularity solutions that no other supplier provides. We custom embossed Kowtow onto our tags. To minimize the challenges with MOQ, we have stuck to the two same sizes for all of our denim styles. We chose to not add rivets to our denim designs to allow for to align with our philosophy of reductive design. Our custom-made tacks and D-rings are sourced from Burning, based in Germany. We chose to work with them as they are like-minded in their sustainability values. Processing these components follows the Oeko-Tex Standard 100. Cotton thread. The thread of a garment holds our entire collection together and often goes unseen. There is a misconception that most thread used in the fashion industry is cotton, but in fact, industry standard is synthetic, a polyester or polycotton blend. There are good reasons behind using a synthetic thread: low cost, durability, and shrinkage control. Since 2023, Kowtow garments have been sewn together with a certified organic cotton thread. This switch required a lot of testing to be confident in its performance, and when we progressed the entire range to this natural solution. This was a major achievement towards our vision of returning clothing back to the earth without harm. The biggest challenge with this one was convincing our suppliers that we were going to be okay to make the switch. Our manufacturers at first were finding the cotton thread kept snapping in the machines, so they worked with us to slow down the machines to stop this from happening, really highlighting the fact that this really is slow fashion. Our production team did a lot of testing through Intertech and in-house to ensure we were happy with the seam bursting under pressure score. We took this one slowly and initially only switched out the black thread for our wovens in our Winter 23 range to see how it performed on a commercial scale before switching all styles over. We had to be brave, as this change was the scariest and the biggest change of them all. We sourced our regular stitching thread and overlocking thread from Vietnam in India and our heavier top stitching from MIC in Italy. They are both certified GOTS and Oeko-Tex Standard 100. Elastic. Elastic is another unseen component of Kowtow garments, which we have found a natural alternative for. Replacing the synthetic norm, Kowtow garments use natural latex rubber encased in certified organic cotton to provide stretch and ease in our waistbands and cuffs. Our latex is carefully harvested by scratching bark of the rubber tree, sourced responsibly from a member of the Fair Rubber Association. Finding this solution was a game changer. We source our wider elastics from Charlie in Germany, who are certified GOTS and Oeko-Tex Standard 100. Ainsley and Catherine from Paper Scissors Cloth contacted me this week to let me know that they are now the New Zealand distributors for Charlie Elastics, so I encourage you to get in touch with them. And finally, the last and most challenging of components to replace, Kowtow knitwear has a small yet vital component that supports the garment structure and longevity: a narrow thread of elastic knitted into the hem edges. This was synthetic and needed to change. When we couldn't find an alternative, we started an innovation partnership with PSP to develop our own solution. Kowtow garments now use natural latex rubber elastic thread wrapped in certified organic cotton. This is our most recent innovation, and although a small component, it is one that we are very proud of, the final piece to the puzzle. Included in our plastic-free playbook is a list of all of our suppliers for all of the components we use. As you can see, we have kept our options very tight, which means we are able to meet MOQs and can have better visibility of our supply chains. You can find this playbook on our website, and we encourage you all to use this resource. Key learnings. These sorts of changes to a product cannot be siloed to a single department or person. Success requires a cross-department collaboration. Embracing innovation with partners, suppliers, and industry peers can unlock your solutions and accelerate progress towards these sustainability goals. Making changes like this requires a deep understanding of your product, your supply chain, operations, and impacts. Through this journey, new risks were identified, and we had to find ways to overcome them without compromising on quality and design. Keep it simple. It's much easier to map your supply chain when you are doing less. Continued research. There are other areas of impact that also need to be assessed and challenged. We are now looking into natural dyes and recycled fibers. Additionally, we are committed to taking responsibility of our garments at the end of life, which is why we offer a free repair and take-back program. It is our responsibility that we keep all our garments out of landfill to avoid adding to climate change through greenhouse gas emissions. The fashion industry is responsible for 4% of global greenhouse gases. Through our take-back program, we are able to rescue some of these components to use in our repair program and recycle them. We have learned that finding a truly circular solution for our garments is still an emerging area of development. Less than 1% of garments globally is currently being recycled, and we are still looking for the ultimate solution to be able to provide this for our customers. There are challenges for a brand at our scale, and we are trying to find the best option that aligns with our values. We encourage our customers to continue to return their well-loved garments to us and support us in our continued research and development. We're also working on our resale program, so watch this space. And so that brings me to the end of my presentation. Over to you, Jacinda.
Thank you so much. Incredible. So many bits and pieces that, you can see how it would have been such a long process to go through identifying each piece, each component within a garment, and then sort of making that switch over time. So please, if anybody has any questions, drop them in the chat. I'm gonna kick things off by asking a couple of questions that came up for me as you were talking. Can you tell me a bit, or can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the importance of working with your suppliers and with your manufacturers on making a switch? Like, for example, you talked about it with the thread moving over to a cotton thread, which I can imagine, was definitely not a straightforward process for the manufacturers. No. I guess what tips would you give people in terms of how to sort of manage those relationships and manage that change process? And then can you give us an indication of sort of like time, like what sort of process that actually was?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a collaboration. You have to work with your suppliers. We definitely didn't want to come in and be like, we need you to do this, without working with them and getting their feedback. And because it is going against the industry norms, it definitely was a bit of a challenge to even suggest it. You initially were fronted with a lot of no's, we use this. So we just had to keep persevering, I guess, with our suppliers. And like I said, we kind of did it slowly. So we actually just worked with, for the thread, just one supplier first, and just switched over just our black and our woven garments at first before we were confident that we could do this. And then, a lot of testing at the factory. They did a lot of sort of stitch samples, a lot of Intertech reports for us. And actually, they came to us with a lot of the solutions. And also, we do actually initially always go to them first, like, do you have someone local that you trust and you want to work with? And they will come back with a yes or no. In terms of the time, I mean, for us, our collections they take 18 months from research through to the first launch. So we have a very slow fashion process. And I think, like I said, I mean, I've been with Kowtow for 7 years, and we started this, well, I mean, from the get-go, we've been organic cotton. So it started 17 years ago, but that real active switch out of these components sort of happened, within the 7 years that I've been here. And it's been sort of like one component after the other, because we didn't want to go and just change the whole thing and then it'd be a complete disaster. And then we've got products out there that are falling apart, and commercially that doesn't make sense for a business anyway, but then also for our customers, we didn't want to do that to them. And also the cost, it is expensive. There is a reason for synthetics. They are a lot cheaper. So I think that gradual implementation definitely helped with that, sort of easing that cost onto the customer as well. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And it's interesting that you talk about cost because we've had a question about that. So I'll jump into that one. So this is the question is, thank you for your presentation. Was there a pricing impact, i.e. increase in switching to no plastic for the end consumer? So I suppose you've alluded to the fact that there was a price increase for you as a brand, but can you tell us how that flowed through?
Yeah, so I think initially because it was gradual, we sort of initially were absorbing those sort of price increases, and it was, it definitely would have had an impact on our margin, but nothing so great that it was like, hey, we can't do this. And I think just slowly, it hasn't even happened that much, but we just found a few key price changes that we could make on some of those garments that may had a lot more trim components involved. But yeah, I think the key is that slow process. So you're not all of a sudden putting up something that your customers are already buying for you on a regular basis and it's going up like $50, because that's obviously not going to be very good for your business. So yeah, definitely a slow incremental change. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there glue on your cotton interlining? We had a couple of people ask about that, and I suppose following on from that, if not, how do you work with interlining? Yeah.
Yeah, so we obviously, the fusible interlining we use is OCS certified organic cotton. And it is adhered to our fabric with tiny dots of formaldehyde-free adhesive. The adhesive leaves a minimal trace when the garment actually biodegrades. The decision to use interlining goes through 3 rigorous stages. So we have reduction, where possible we reduce the use of the interlining and only have it on select garments that require the structure. And then natural alternatives. So we actually tend to use our Fairtrade organic self fabric more than interlining as such. But where it is required, we do have to put a little bit of that interlining in. And if the garment, we also are working to actually completely get rid of that interlining at the moment. So for our 2024 production, which we're in at the moment, we just actually have 1 garment that even has interlining in it. And then the goal is to eventually just get rid of it completely. But yes, it is a very important component that needs to exist in garments, but we're just actively trying to find a way to get rid of it, essentially. Yeah.
Thank you. How do you prevent using plastics in shipping goods from India to New Zealand? So can you share a bit about how you transport your product?
Yeah, so all of our products are shipped in a bio bag, which is a corn-based starch. And then they come in recycled cardboard boxes. And we have a composting scheme. So we actually collect all of our bio bags before they hit the shop floor, and our wholesalers can also send those back to us. And then we have 2 partners that we work with, one in Auckland that composts those bio bags for us, and also one up the Kapiti coast. So yeah.
Amazing. So a couple of questions. So one question here, will there be disclosure, or is there disclosure on your garments that contain latex? As someone with a latex allergy, it's important to know, happy that this is better for the environment too.
Yeah, this actually has come up before. Because we do go with more of a reductive design, so all of our care labels are quite standardized, and we use sort of the same care label across most of our garments. We do have specific ones for flat knits, wovens, and the denim styles. But yes, this has come up before. We could possibly do something on our website, on our PDP pages, to point this out to people. But yeah, at this stage, I don't believe we have got that. But yeah, good point. Thank you for reminding me.
Are there any alternatives to latex that you've come across?
Not that we've come across, no. Yeah, I mean that is naturally the natural alternative. Essentially, it's how it all started, basically, before it switched over to synthetic. But yeah, maybe one day somewhere out in this world, someone will come up with some crazy new technology. It'll be made out of mushrooms or something, you know. But yeah, no, we haven't found anything else at this stage. But yeah, as I said, we have a we call it the SAG, the Sustainability Action Group. And it's a group of Kowtow people that we come together every month, and we are just actively researching and questioning what we're using and looking for alternatives. So yeah, maybe I'll bring that one to the next meeting.
Yeah, I really like that idea, and that's something that we do encourage businesses at Mindful Fashion to do as well. And I guess this leads into one of the questions that I can see here. What unique challenges would you foresee for small New Zealand brands who produce locally in New Zealand in terms of access and cost for some of these products or components? And do you have any tips or advice around how to address these barriers?
Yes. I have been actually thinking about this, and I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity for collaboration across brands, whether it's with us or whether it's amongst yourselves. I don't know if it could be facilitated through Mindful Fashion, but yeah, I guess if you're all kind of coming together to go, well, I need this and that, and maybe trying to find a happy medium to standardize a few of these things, then yeah, obviously you'd be able to hit those MOQs, share in the logistical costs. Like I mentioned, the Ainsley and Catherine, the paper, scissors, cloth, they're a local distributor now, so you can actually get that elastic here. Yeah, Oceania, they're local. They have not just Tagua and Karoza, Tagua and shell buttons. They have lots of other natural alternatives. So yeah, I guess, yeah, just my tip would be to reach out. I think in New Zealand, a lot of brands, sometimes they stick to themselves. But I think it's all about conversations and collaboration and yeah, coming together.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we could look to facilitate in terms of Mindful Fashion. So we might follow up in our email that comes out to everybody afterwards with maybe a next step to see if anyone's interested in something like that.
Yeah.
Have you got any thoughts about legislation in New Zealand? I guess as in terms of what could the industry in New Zealand do collectively to make a change like this on a nationwide scale? So legislation or policy work that we could be advocating for together, like what would you or a Kowtow like to see in that area?
Definitely. I mean, my first thought goes to the care label. We've talked about this a lot at Kowtow, and actually brands being forced to disclose, the actual contents of their garments. We are constantly talking about whether we should be doing that on our labels, but obviously we come back to that kind of reductive design thing, and legally you don't actually have to disclose any of that, and there's also loopholes around percentage of the garment that you even have to disclose. So I feel like that would be an awesome starting point, because then it would just actively make brands question what they're doing, and do they want the customer to even know that they're using that. So yeah, but yeah, I think that would be a great starting point. And obviously, if any legislation and policy follows, then that also is great too. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's a lot going on globally around policy and legislation on a number of areas, and I know that there's actually there's a global plastics treaty that's currently being negotiated. New Zealand's part of those negotiations, and so we are looking at how we can get involved in that as an organisation as well at the moment. So there is quite a lot of work currently happening around plastics.
Yeah, and there's also plastic-free certification that's out there as well. So yeah, I think the more you can jump on board with, the better, and the more change we'll see in the industry, which is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a question here. How do you find the shelf life for the bio-based bags? Have you, can you share a bit about that?
I mean, definitely we have had seasons where the shelf life has been not so great. But we kept sort of collaborating with our suppliers to improve on the quality and giving them feedback. And we've managed to land on a bio bag it seems to be pretty good. And we tend to not buy too much that our product is sitting for really long extended periods of time. So I think that's also key to the shelf life of those bio bags. But yeah, I mean, we also are looking at actually switching our bio bags to a glassine, which is a paper-based product, because we are conscious as well of the composting side of it. So how long can we continue that for? So yeah, in the works is sort of a paper bag, which also comes with the challenges because you need your warehousing have they need it to be clear so that they can scan the barcode, and yeah, it needs to be durable, obviously, because they don't want to be replacing bags all the time. They can tear. There's everything you do has challenges, basically. You just have to keep working at it. Don't give up by one setback, essentially. Yeah.
I have a follow-on question from that, and then I can see that another question's come through. In terms of the packaging, so going through that process of removing plastics, but have you actually gone through the process of removing packaging? So do you instead of packing every single item in a single bag, are you sort of experimenting, or have you learned anything in that respect?
We have talked about that, packing multiple products into one box or one bag a few times, but that actually causes a lot of logistical issues at the warehousing side of things. And they are one to also talk to because they can be quite staunch in the way their processes are at times. But we have a packaging working group. We meet once every 2 weeks. Again, we are assessing every part of our packaging process. We switched our tissue paper on our website to be optional at checkout. So trying to put a little bit of the, put it back on the customer a little bit to be like, do you actually need that additional packaging? And we've actually found that we've had an amazing opt-out rate. I think it's like 80% or even higher than that. So it's really nice to see that our customers are also on board with that reduction of waste. But yeah, like it's also part of our strategy that we did with Go Well to assess everything, including packaging, and switch it to a recycled option. But yeah, again, it's really slow, and we just have to have this 2-weekly kind of working group where we're going through all of it and sort of trying to feed it all through. And we didn't want to just like switch it all out in one season and be like, ta-da, here's our new packaging, because that's wasteful. We've already purchased these boxes and bags and things. So yeah, we're just sort of slowly implementing it through.
And I guess, as you said, with the product, it's something that you want to make sure that the change that you're making is the right change. So it's almost a case of testing and iterating and making sure the systems are set up so that the new material process component will work in a seamless way. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Have you found, so going back to garments and the move to plastic free, have you found the longevity has been affected by the switch at all? Like, do you have any data around any impact that it might have had, for example, the cotton thread versus the poly cotton thread? Any impact on the longevity?
To be honest, we've only launched it, 3 months ago. So we haven't. We did do the cotton, but with all of the components together, it's only launched like 3 months ago. So we haven't had a lot of that kind of data flowing back yet. But we do definitely have to rest on that report, those Intertech reports, and the in-house wash testing and wear testing that we do in-house to feel confident with the move. Whether that long-term brings on some new challenges. But like I said in my talk, I think you just have to be brave and give it a go and see what happens. But also do your due diligence as well. But yeah, at this stage, we don't have anything. We do have a returns sheet, and I often check on that as well. And I haven't had anything come back due to any of these switches yet. So yeah, hopefully it stays that way.
Amazing. There's been a lot of comments sort of saying thank you for sharing your suppliers and the handbook so publicly. Was it a difficult decision? Were there any IP or confidentiality concerns? Are your suppliers screaming at you because they're now getting 100 emails a day from people wanting to source from them? Like, what's the implications and the thought process behind that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have held our supply chain closely to our chest for 17 years. Well, actually, no, maybe not that long, but all of it, bringing out the components as well. There is that risk of, your IP and some big brand coming in and pushing you out of your supply chain, but we haven't found that. And no, I haven't had any feedback from any of our factories, but I'm actually sure that they would welcome you all with open arms, to be honest. They are lovely people and really like-minded. And at this stage, no. No one's screaming at me just yet.
That's great. That's great to hear.
Cool.
And have you found suppliers to be cooperative and flexible with MOQs when moving towards more these alternatives for trims and threads?
It is a bit of a negotiation for sure. I think that's where that collaboration comes in. Yeah. Definitely, I mean, they're always going to probably come in with a high MOQ because, the more they sell, the more money they get. But so it's always worth being a little bit cheeky. I think that's probably the production manager in me, and just, always pushing back and trying to find like a happy medium. But yeah, like I said, we really consolidate. We use the same width elastics, the same buttons, the same jean tacks. Like we've just really just brought it right down to limited options so that we can actually hit those MOQs and know that we're going to use them for the future collections as well. So yeah, the key I think is just bringing it all down.
Yeah, I think that's a really good someone's just popped another question. I was going to say that's a good note to end on because ultimately that's what it's about. So last question, what is the big next step for Kowtow to work to be circular?
Well, yeah, I can't divulge all of our secrets, but as a starting point, I think resale is our next big step. So we're just working through that. I'm working through that at the moment. So watch the space, I guess, is what we'll see. But yeah, the circularity thing is a huge piece. It is a very hard. As you'll be seeing overseas, a lot of these textile recycling companies are actually going bankrupt or looking for investment. So yeah, it's a very tricky one, but at the moment we are collecting and using that resource as a research piece. So yeah, maybe one day we'll share all of that.
Oh, that's really exciting. I think that's a great note to end on. And it's so fantastic to see with Kowtow even talking about that big picture of circularity, starting with the design. That's something that we always say at Mindful Fashion, like design the product to be circular from the beginning. It has a long life, and by the time that the garment's life is ready to move on to something else in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, those solutions will be there, but it all starts with getting actually that design right. So thank you so much for opening the doors and showing everybody what goes on behind the scenes and all of the incredible work that you and the team at Kowtow have really put into making this amazing step towards full circularity with going plastic free, and sharing your suppliers and all your incredible knowledge. Thank you very much on behalf of all of us. And yeah, I would like to thank everyone for joining us, and we will be sharing the recording, and I'll send out a follow-up question to see if anyone's interested in perhaps facilitating some sort of collective sourcing of some sort. Yeah.
Cool.
So thank you again, Tessa.
Thank you. Yeah, it was lovely to be able to share.
Thanks, everyone.
Cool. See you.